Question. I'm here with some friends of mine if they want to come say hi.
Hello.
My name's Tyler.
I'm in uniform.
I'm Jaden.
Okay, cool. So today we are going to practice rounding with decimals, and I've already selected a number to put in our place value chart. But first things first, we want to talk about when we are rounding, we look. Say if we're rounding to our tens place, we're going to look to the number behind it and the one less place in that. So say if we're going to the tens place, we're going to look to the hundredths place. All right, and we're going to look and see if that number is either 5 or above or 4 and below. So there's a little phrase that my students taught me from their previous class today, and they said it's like this: 5 or more, let it soar; 4 or less, let it rest. All right, it's pretty simple. So say if I have a very, just a very simple number like 5.7. All right, so and I want to round to the nearest 1. So I've got 5.7, and my tens place, one place behind my ones place, is 7. So I'm going to look at that and say, well, I'm just simply going to round it up to 6. Okay? Now, if it was something smaller, such as a 3, well, it's less than 4. It's 4 or less, so I'm going to let it rest. So it's just going to round down to 5. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this number right here, and we're going to round to several different places. We're going to start with our hundreds. All right? So we're going to take this, and we're going to look at the number 372, okay? And 549 hundredths. We're going to look at this, and we're going to say, what is this close to? 372. What is the nearest hundred? Silas, do you want to tell me what the nearest hundred for 372 is?
The nearest hundred would be.
Let's look at.
The nearest hundred would be 400 because if you see here, it's higher than 50, so you're going to round it to the next hundred.
That.
It's going to be 400.
That's correct. The number after the 3 is a 7, so it is going to round up to 400. And notice that when I round it up to 400, I'm not worried about all my numbers behind that decimal point. I'm just writing 400. All right, so I'm going to move on to my tens place. Now let's look at our tens place here. So I'm going to round to the nearest 10. So I have the number 372 and 549 hundredths. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my tens place, which is this 7 right here, and then I'm going to look at one number behind it in my ones place, my 2. And so when I look at this, I can say that it's less than 4. It's 4 and below. So I'm going to let this rest, and I'm going to go down to 370. Why does it go down to 370 instead of, say, at 372? Because I've got to round either up or down to a number that is a multiple of 10, a number that ends in a 0. Okay? So we've done our hundreds, we've done our tens. We're going to move on to our ones. So I've got my ones place, and I've got a 2 in my ones place. So 372. And then after the decimal point, I have the numbers 5, 4, and 9. So I only want to focus on the one immediately after my 2, after my decimal point, okay? And that's a 5. So 5 or more, let it soar. So this 2 is going to become a 3 because it has a 5 behind it. We're going to round up one number here to 373. And notice, since I'm rounding to my nearest 1, I'm not worried about all the decimal points behind it, or all the decimal numbers behind it, okay? So I'm going to go to something that might be a little bit complicated, that might trip some people up here. So I'm going to round to my nearest tenth. All right, round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to look in my tens place right here, okay? And I'm going to look at that 5 right there, and I'm going to look one behind it to determine whether it's being rounded up or rounded down. And it's a 4. And so that's pretty simple. What I would write there is 372 and 5 tenths. And Zach, feel free to zoom in on the answer just to get a little bit of clarity sometimes. So that one is going to stay the same. And notice, when I round to the nearest tenth, I'm dropping all those numbers behind it. When I round to the nearest tenth, the last digit that I'm going to have is in the tenths place. All right? Now, we're going to go all the way to our hundredths place and stop. Okay, so our hundredths place, there is a 4 in our hundredths. All right, and so we have to look right over here at this 9 to determine whether we're going to round up or round down. All right, so Brianna, what do you think are we rounding up or rounding down? We are rounding up. And so we're going to drop this because we're rounding up to increase this 4 right here. And it's going to be 372 and 55 hundredths. And that's all for today. I hope this brings a little bit more clarity to you in your math work. Thank you.